We would be in real trouble without this guy. That's what Kirby Smart had to say about this Georgia Bulldog defender that you may not guess at first because it's Nazir Stackhouse, the veteran, experienced defensive lineman. And Kirby Smart said that about him this week because of how durable and reliable he's been, not only throughout his Georgia career, but this year particularly, because let's be real, these dogs are banged up, right? Kirby's sending a beat-up defensive line over to Austin, Texas. And if they want to come out victorious, they need big games from both Nazir Stackhouse and Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, because those are really the two only healthy contributors on the defensive line right now. Here's what Kirby Smart had to say about his beat-up defensive line group. He said, "We're not complete, plain and simple. We're not injury-free. Warren Brinson's battling injury. Jordan Hall's battling injury. Michael Williams has been battling an injury. Kristen Miller has been battling an injury. He's not able to complete the work week every week and the week out, but he's able to go out and play." I said that wrong in the quote. You can read the real quote over on Dog Post for free, by the way. So make sure you're doing that. There's a lot of content out there. But, Kirby had a lot to say about Nazir, who, that's the guy, if you don't know, this team super well, if you're not great with the numbers, he's number 78, who had the big interception against Missouri last year. This is a guy who fights and competes hard every single down. And he has been one of Georgia's most dependable players because he's been on the field. This is what Kirby Smart had to say specifically about Stackhouse. He said, "Nazir's been one of the more reliable and dependable guys in terms of staying injury-free. But when you're beat up in one area, it usually means Xavier McLeod missed all that time." He added, "There's not really a guy that hasn't missed some time at the position. We've been really fortunate to have the numbers we have, even though it's not necessarily the experience we need. It's a lot of big frames and big body types who are getting better." He said, "Nazir's been really durable. Of all the players we've had, I can't remember if this is his 5th year or so, right? I think it's his 5th. I can't remember. The guy's been practicing. I can't remember the guy missing practice. He has tremendous flexibility, which keeps you from getting injured. He has what we call contact balance, which means he can strike and not get knocked off when another person hits him on a double team. He can anchor. He's been very durable, and we would be in trouble without him. I thought he had a really, really good year 2 years ago. He had a pretty good year last year. And then this year, he's played better to me than he did last year. He continues to grow and get better, but he's just been a workload. He's an invaluable leader because he sets an example. The way he practices and his toughness, he carries more reps than anybody. And we've tried to take some off of him too in practice because he's played so long. So listen, Kirby Smart doesn't have to go on a tangent about these guys, but he really loves Nazir Stackhouse. And I tell you what, Nazir almost left. I think he's going to get drafted. I'm not sure where he would have gone in the draft if he came out last year, but he came out and made a statement like 2 weeks later, "Hey, I'm staying." And that's good because Georgia really has battled. But I'm not sure the defensive line play has been worse than we expect. It's not been as good as it was last year, the year before that, or in 2021, right? The defensive line and the defense in general has taken a step backwards, both at linebacker, in the secondary, and on the defensive line. But if they can get healthy, this is going to be a good group down the stretch. But, like Kirby said, like everyone's battle tested. Everyone's injured nowadays, or at least has injuries on their defensive line. But, this is great to see for me. Quick story. I really like covering Nazir Stackhouse. We went to Stevenson High School where he was at the time for a big photo shoot. He came out with a chicken and waffles shirt on. It was amazing. I showed my wife that picture of his shirt and I said, "Babe, I need this. I need this shirt so badly." She said, "Yes, I get you're the best looking man in the world and you're so smart, but you cannot rock a chicken and waffles t-shirt." It hurt my feelings because I still think I can rock it. I don't have the style he does. I don't play with the same tenacity that he does. This kid loves Georgia. And he said that from the start. We kind of knew he was going to Georgia the way, he was talking about the Dogs in high school. Just a middle-of-the-road 4-star recruit who continued to get better and better and better. He's not Jordan Davis. He's not Jalen Carter. He's not Devonta Wyatt. But he has been a respectable player in the league and a guy that people look at as one of the faces of Georgia's defense, as they should. I mean, he is a great kid, and he's playing hard. And he has elevated his game when Warren Brinson has been out. Jordan Hall has been out, it seems like, several weeks now. Michael Williams, who doesn't play that same exact position, right? He does play more on the edge. But he's been banged up too, and they need guys like Kristen Miller to fight through injuries, to hang in there, right? They need Ty Ingram Dawkins to continue making the plays that he's made. And Nazir Stackhouse is just that consistent guy in the middle. And you can tell that Kirby Smart really loves this kid. When you come out and say, where would we be without him? That does say a lot, especially as a guy who coaches in the secondary. I'm going to talk more about this in a second and what Georgia kind of needs to do to beat Texas. But first, I've got to plug it because I will forget. collegebronze.com. That's where you get the #1 Georgia Bulldog statue on the market today. Promo code DOGPOST, okay? Don't miss out on the discount. All the information is in the description below in this video. So let's talk about, other stuff that Kirby had to say. He talked about Isaiah Bond, and this all came from his press conference on Tuesday. So he did talk about Nazir Stackhouse and the defensive linemen in general and the depth. Here's what Nazir actually had to say. Talking about his durability staying on the field, he said, regardless of the circumstances, I try to do whatever it takes to get into practice, even if something hurts or an injury is aging me. I always try to fight to stay in practice. It might seem that way from the outside, but my availability has always been something important to me. So even if it's a couple of reps or more reps in practice, I always fight to stay in and practice with the guys. He talked about playing Bill Norton, who plays for Texas. He was a former Georgia Bulldog, a guy who I flew to Memphis to watch play. He was okay. He wasn't great. I never really thought he'd make a giant impact in Athens, but he has turned into a nice little player over at Texas. He also talked about Trey Scott's impact on the defensive line group. He said Trey Scott has a big impact on not just my performance and my technique. He's definitely helped me with my confidence on the field as well. I've only built up that confidence from my freshman year to now. Listening to his philosophies and his way of the game and his passion for it just helps me play for him harder, as well as Coach Kirby Smart. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to play well. Texas has, I believe, the #7 total offense in the country. They're playing at home. They've got a solid offensive line. That is a respectable group. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They've got a stable of backs. They've got receivers. They've got a coach who knows how to get the most of them, who can also scheme up ways for them to be successful through the air. Something we haven't seen a lot from this Georgia defense is, getting to the quarterback, getting those sacks. But Nazir Stackhouse is a guy who can get into the backfield and create pressure on the quarterback. He's a solid run stuffer, run defender, just like Kristen Miller. And man, it would be something to see this whole group healthy. And no one's healthy. I get that. But when you're one of your best players, Micah Williams, has barely been healthy all season. Warren Brinson is, I don't want to say always dinged up, but always dinged up, it seems. I'm not trying to hate on the kid or anything like that. I'm just trying to be real. This is a banged up group, and Nazir Stackhouse has always been there. He's been a consistent, reliable defender in the middle there. He takes on the double teams. He does the dirty work in the trenches that may be tough to see from the TV perspective, right? It's tough to figure out which defensive linemen are really doing their job, playing and play out, because, when you're watching the games, they're all, in some cases, especially in the run game, they're all kind of cluttered up there. So it's hard to see, which numbers doing which. But Nazir Stackhouse, he kind of got pushed around a little bit against Alabama in that SEC championship game last year. He's done a good job of, adding more weight and, getting in better shape and working on his technique. And he's turned into a really nice player. But, when Kirby Smart was asked about that defensive line, he said, hey, we're banged up, but at least we got Nazir Stackhouse. Jamal Jarrett hasn't really made that type of impact. And I tell you what, Georgia's defensive line is going to look a lot different next year. There's a reason they took so many defensive linemen in that 24 recruiting class. There's a reason they're trying to load up and use those NIL funds and money on defensive linemen in this 25 class. You're going to see a lot of defensive linemen, young, hungry, talented guys playing next year. We'll see if Jamal Jarrett sticks around. He hasn't been super impactful. Maybe he tries to go somewhere else. Jordan Hall, the same way. They're going to try to keep those guys on board because depth matters. And I don't want to speculate on transfers. We're in the middle, halfway through the season. There's a lot of football to go, although there are guys across college football already kind of redshirting and opting out of the season. But at the end of the day, the leadership and the veteran experience that the defensive line brought into this season was a big reason why I thought Georgia had the potential to win the national championship, and I still do. But they're going to need that group to play really well against Texas. And if Georgia comes out victorious, I think it's going to be hard not to look at Nazir Stackhouse's way and say he was a big reason why. I think Georgia can beat Texas. They can. I think they can. I don't know if they will. The second, I don't think that they will. But if they do, I think a lot of credit will probably end up going to the defensive line and that group led by Ty Ingram Dawkins and Nazir Stackhouse and a bunch of beat up Bulldogs, right? Thanks for watching this video. Hope you learned something. You can read all this over on Dog Post, by the way. Make sure you're taking advantage of that. Get your Bulldog today, and I'll see you over on the website.